Right, week 3, GIFs. So basically, GIFs are animated image files that play from beginning to end in like a continuous loop, and they're often accompanied by witty text or witty caption. There are 5 readings this week, so I'm going to divide my presentation into 5 sections so I can kind of like summarise the main themes and arguments that each of the authors presented. There is this contested pronunciation within GIFs. Do you pronounce it GIF? Do you pronounce it GIF? The creator of GIF said that you do pronounce it GIF. However, GIF reminds me of like that lemon juice at the supermarket. So I'm going to call them GIFs because I've always called them GIFs. So just to clarify that at the start of my presentation. So in this first text, we're kind of introduced to who invented the GIF, and what it means. So basically, it was invented in 1987 by Steve Willard, I think that's how you say it. And it was invented basically to bring colour and movement to the web. Willard's first GIF was actually of an aeroplane, and I think it's interesting to note that he's never actually made an animated GIF, which I find quite strange because surely if you invented the GIF, you'd want to like kind of have a play around with the way in which it's evolved, but maybe he's too old for doing that now, or I don't know, maybe he doesn't like the fact that his original idea has evolved, I don't know. So GIF basically means graphics interchange format, so it's a file format, and it's kind of attained like a celebrity status in the computing world. So right away we can kind of see that it is really important and something special about this, and this is epitomised through the fact that it won Word of the Year in 2012, which is quite ironic because GIF is actually an acronym, not a word, but still, again, it kind of like shows the celebrity status that there's something really quite important about the GIF. So no file format has ever like received so much attention, and this is probably due to the fact that GIFs are the aesthetic calling card of modern internet culture. So, you know, they're quite mesmerising, they're straight to the point rather than having to watch a big long video. They're quite funny, they're cool, but often from videos, games and films that you can recognise, so it's something like you can personally understand. And the triumph of speed and compression means that a GIF is able to just travel through the internet dead quick, a bit like a meme in that it can catch on and people can kind of like copy it and replicate it. So that's how they've become so popular. So this reading talks about GIFs in today's society, and I thought a really good way of explaining GIFs was through a quote in this text. The quote was, "GIFs have the cheerfulness of a carousel." This kind of epitomises what a GIF is, the continuous circular motion that's there to evoke happiness and entertainment, which is primarily what a GIF does. It expresses people's creativity, they can be a bit clever with it, a bit funny with it, and it's there to make it like laughs and stuff. Obviously, the GIFs are used in commercial ways, which I'll talk about later on, but ultimately they're there to have a bit of a laugh with. The author describes the trend in GIFs as having kind of like 2 main functions, and this is rhythm and repetition. So the content can include absolutely anything. It can come from a music video, it can come from a film, it can come from a video game, but as long as it includes this rhyme and repetition, then it's going to have the comical effect that GIFs are so well known for. He also talks about that any snippet of film or music video or video game you do use though, these images lose its original truth value. So it's this idea of variation, that you are taking a bit of media and then you are mixing it up in some way to then create something else, which is this GIF. So it works kind of like the memes do in that it evolves, but you have to use something hereditary in the first place, so people can recognise it. This text also talks about the revival and the resurgence of GIFs. So in the 1990s, when they first came out, they were really popular, and then they kind of took a nosedive, and now they've become really popular again in the past 2 years. And I thought to myself, well, why is this? And I came to the conclusion that Obviously, because of the internet and stuff, everything moves so fast and so quickly nowadays. A GIF is more permanent because it's looping and it's there and you can keep watching it over and over again. It doesn't just get lost in like space. It's a bit more fixed than say just an image that you click on, you see, you laugh and it goes. A GIF is there and it loops and it repeats and you can watch it like a fair few times. So in that second reading, the author describes GIFs as minor art forms, which I actually disagree with. I think they're probably major art forms currently because they're accessible to everyone and they're so easy to make that they've become really popular in society. And this third reading helps show this. It tells us how GIFs are used in art galleries in Berlin, Miami and New York. So it's interesting that GIFs, which are probably classed as low culture, are actually being coupled with high culture exhibits. So this goes to show that actually GIFs are more than a minor art form. There's something a bit bigger and better about them. This third reading also shows the fact that because GIFs are becoming more fluid and professional, there's this idea of professionalisation at play, in which GIFs are often used in marketing campaigns for brands, e.g. Diesel and Stranded Apparel. So the monetisation of GIFs is quite central in the fact that companies are finding ways to create profit from them, and if they have the skills to do so, then I don't see why they shouldn't. I think the monetisation of GIFs is a good idea, and in fact it will probably just encourage more people to participate in making GIFs if they see them in the likes of videos and on advertisements and stuff. So this reading kind of shows how GIFs have taken over the internet, and it uses the story of Mike Konskow and how he used GIFs to create a kind of story about the American job crisis that he wanted to express. It was a huge success and 56,000 people saw it, and then after that he got offered jobs to create more GIF type stories. So it kind of goes to show that anyone can have a go at making GIFs. You can pick up the skills as you go along. A good quote from this reading was, "The GIF was always moving even when it wasn't." So it shows the idea that even when GIFs aren't actually on your screen and physically moving, they're still in your mind imprinted. They're mesmerising, hence the reason like advertisements use them, because it draws people in. You can't look away, you just keep watching and watching and it repeats, so they stick into your mind. A really interesting point raised in this particular reading was that of vines and GIFs. So Vine is a GIF making service, but it doesn't actually make GIFs, because with Vine you can't edit the video that you've shot, whereas editing is basically what makes a GIF so popular. So Vine just kind of creates these repeated video files, not actually GIFs. So this final reading concentrated on loops and how they enrich society, and the author used the example of the thaumatrope and zoetrope. So it's argued that these Victorian toys kind of prepared people for the inevitable visual loops that are now used in GIFs. Obviously, GIFs differ because someone doesn't have to start and stop them like people did with the Victorian toys, but you can see the similarities there. So loops have always existed, but GIFs are the modernisation of loops. So my final point to make, and the one I find probably the most interesting, is the negative effects of a GIF. And yes, there are some. So they can be used in quite a cruel manner to capture moments of embarrassment of, say, celebrities and stuff. So you have to feel quite sorry for these celebrities because they might make a mistake on stage on TV, or within 5 minutes this will have been made into a GIF and uploaded onto the internet for millions and millions to see. So a quote that I really liked in this reading was, "The loop is certainly demonic. It is a dance of fire. It is uncompromising and incessant." So obviously this is quite a negative view of of GIFs, and it shows how GIFs can kind of undermine the world through mockery and criticism of the media, particularly politically. I think political GIFs are probably some of the most humorous and some of the most popular. So this is the way in which GIFs can be used in a negative way, but this negativity probably makes it more humorous for the audience.